Hey, it is Kelsey and welcome to the Daily Kelsey Show. Today we're going to be talking about grief and nutrition and workouts and how to deal with all those things when you are going through a tough time. So I got this question on Instagram the other day and I thought it was really important to dig into this because unfortunately, hard things and grief are a part of life. So it's really important to discuss how do you process grief? How do you move through those seasons and be able to eat well or give yourself grace in the process? And how do you move your body? How often and what do you do when you're going through these types of challenging times? So you may or may not have heard, but 2 weeks ago, my little weenie passed away. And it was a really unexpected thing. I'm gonna cry. Dennis and I have had Lily since forever. I mean, it feels like forever. We had her for 9 years. So we got her a year after we got married. And so she has been with us through so many different seasons of life. And as you can see, I'm still working through it. You know, she became a part of our family. We don't have kids. And so she was our little baby. And it was really challenging to, have to go through that. So going through the loss of Lils has been really hard, but also important to be able to realize what is important in life and just kind of really reprioritize those things. And it's really also important to talk about this stuff because so many people go through loss of, loved ones, loss of pets, children, friends, and just other things that cause grief. So it's important to be open about this and just real that life isn't perfect, but how do you walk through these seasons and also navigate things like food and fitness? So let's dig into some of those things. When it comes to grief, everyone grieves in different ways, and there's not necessarily a right or a wrong way to grieve, but something that's just really important to understand is how do you personally grieve emotionally, but then also physically? What are the different indicators that your body experiences when you're going through these types of emotions? So having a little bit of awareness around these things can help you be able to navigate when it comes to food and fitness so that you can be able to make sure that you are fueling your body well, that you are staying active if you need it, but you're also slowing down, taking a step back when you need it, because that's also very, very important. So like I said, everyone grieves differently, and sometimes people feel guilty because they're grieving in ways that they feel like they should or shouldn't. Other times people are confused because their grief manifests in ways that they weren't expecting. All of that is okay, and it's important to just understand that it's going to be a process and it's going to hurt, but eventually you will be able to heal along the way. When it comes to the emotions, certainly everyone feels things differently, but also it manifests differently in your body. So sometimes people will not feel hungry. Sometimes they will feel extremely hungry. Sometimes they will feel depressed. Sometimes they will feel angry. Sometimes they will feel super irritable. Sometimes they just want to crawl in a hole and not talk to anybody. Sometimes they want to shout to the rooftops. Everyone is different. And so just having a little bit of awareness around what you're experiencing can be helpful, especially when it comes to, first, let's talk about nutrition. So how do you first determine where you're at and how to navigate that process? The way that I was feeling grief over the last couple of weeks was I was not feeling super hungry, but I noticed that about myself. And so sometimes people will just not eat. And of course, it's important to listen to and honor your body. But also, if you're experiencing those deep emotions, it's also important to understand that you still need to fuel your body. It still needs to be able to have the energy to run efficiently. So for me, I was aware of those things and I knew that I still needed to fuel my body, even though I wasn't experiencing the natural hunger signals that I typically do. So for me, what I did in that process was I just made sure to prioritize eating regularly. So made sure that I ate my regular meals, even if it wasn't tasting the way that it usually does, or I wasn't super hungry. I made sure that I was still prioritizing getting food. So often when you're going through those big emotional experiences, you'll experience extremes when it comes to not hungry at all or super hungry. So being able to find your way to the middle is really important. So if you find that you're on the other end of the spectrum where you just are unable to control your cravings and always feel like eating, taking a step back to become more present in your body can be really helpful. So being able to know that maybe there's some other need that's not being met, and maybe you know it's because of this grief, or maybe there's some other type of need that's not being met. Maybe you're not experiencing feeling loved in the way that you wish that you were, or maybe you're experiencing some type of loss. But what is that need that is not being met that somehow those behaviors are wanting to fill with food? So taking a step back to be aware of that can be really helpful to find other ways to meet those needs. So when it comes to grief and nutrition, it's important to just have some awareness of not falling into the extremes in either direction. Keep it simple. Try and eat if you can. If you find that you're tending to overeat, take a step back and figure out some other ways that we can meet those needs. And workouts. When it comes to workouts and grief, everyone again is different. Some people don't want to move at all. Some people want to just keep moving to avoid the pain. So how do you navigate this process and how your body and feelings are manifesting this grief? I didn't feel like moving at all. I could not muster the energy to move my body whatsoever. And I knew that I was under a lot of stress. And so the last thing that I needed was a super high intensity workout. So for at least 10 days, maybe more, I didn't do any sort of traditional workout. Dennis and I just went on walks. So we would walk once or twice a day and just use that time as our workout, as our movement. But we really were just walking very slowly, taking the time to think and process and cry and laugh, all of those different things, and just not putting any pressure on ourselves to have to get back into the grind. We just were allowing ourselves to feel the feelings and know that eventually we'd be able to get back into the groove of it. But for a while, we just needed to not put our body under additional stress. So after some time of just taking the time off and going on walks, the way that I got back into it was just starting with a few different strength sets. So I didn't want to jump into anything crazy high intensity because still I was under a lot of stress and my body was feeling all of those things. So I just did a few different strength sets, really focusing on just total body workouts, just moving a little bit. And that was the way that I eased back into it. So if you find that you're on the other end of the spectrum where you are just wanting to keep moving to avoid pain, or you just want to keep yourself busy, something to really be aware of is it's okay, it's good to move your body if that feels good for you, but it's also really important to rest and to be able to recover both physically, mentally, and emotionally. It's important to take a step back and allow your body time to recover. So if you feel like moving, go for it, but also allow yourself time to rest. So for both nutrition and workouts, it's important to not go into any sort of extremes and just try to navigate this middle ground, knowing that it's not going to be perfect. Your routine is going to be different than usual, but that's okay. And over the last few weeks, Dennis and I have both really tried to just take a step back and know that this is our new normal and it's going to take some time to heal, and that's okay. So if you're going through some grief, if you're going through a hard time, know that even on the hardest days, there are better ones ahead. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video today. If you have not subscribed to my channel yet, you can do so by clicking right here. You can check out my latest video right here. So thank you guys so much. Remember, be good to yourself, give yourself grace, and just enjoy the process of this journey that we call life. We'll see you soon.